Call the meeting to order, please. Roll call, please, Cassandra.
Legislator Frost,
Here.
Legislator Calamus,
Here.
Legislator Mosier is absent. Legislator Leindecker,
Here.
Legislator Nortz,
Here.
Legislator Moorhan, here. Legislator Levicker,
Here.
Legislator Osborne,
Here.
Legislator Nellenbach,
Here.
and Legislator Dahlhoff.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the invocation and the pledge? And Legislator Calamus, if you would lead us in the invocation, please.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day, the weather, and thank you for the privilege to serve the people of Lewis County. Guide us with your wisdom in all the decisions we make and help us see the hidden opportunities in any struggles or challenges that we face. We ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of Republic of liberty.
Like to open a public hearing for the proposed addition of approximately 3.5 miles of trails to the Lewis County OHV trail system. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on that? Yes, sir. Would you come up and you want to turn that mic on for him? State your name, please, for the record.
Good evening. My name is Chris Scovira. I live on Lee Gulf Trail in Turin, and thank you for this opportunity to speak before you. I've already spoken with Mr. Levicker and just recently Mr. Dahlhoff in relation to this. I appreciate your time and your information. I addressed this board, I think back in 2017 when the previous trail was going to be open that went through our property. And basically it's the same concern, is that coming off of the field from the Demco property onto Lee Gulf Trail and going out that way, there's enough of a blind hill that incoming and outgoing traffic can't see each other. We've had a couple close calls in the past with four-wheelers, had two close calls this year with snowmobile trailers that were apparently out of direction. They were probably heading to the Timberview or further up, and GPS took them the wrong way. But it's a concern as we approach our mailbox, which is on the left side of the road as we go out from Lee Gulf to Carpenter. You want to have a little bit of a veer to go over to the mailbox, and that's bringing you right into the oncoming traffic. And with that hill, you can't be seen. Same thing coming back in from town, going to the mailbox or just coming in, you have to go over that hill, and there's just enough of an angle that you can't see what's oncoming, especially a four-wheeler or a side-by-side that tends to be a little bit lower. So that's the main concern. The other concern I have for this addition is the Ives Road addition. Previously, we just had traffic from West Road and it came over to Lee Gulf into Carpenter, and it was basically whatever was on the existing trail. Now, by adding this Ives connector, you're increasing the amount of people coming from the lower part, and that's just going to increase the amount of traffic and the potential for interaction with vehicles on our road. In discussing this with some of you here, the reason that was given as to why we pursued this trail, I kind of thought was interesting, and it's unfortunate, it leads to a bad precedent being set. Was the first response I got was, well, Towpath had a really bad year with the trail being closed. I'm not here to bash the towpath in. I don't have any differences, even though my wife and I have sort of taken it on the chin from a couple people who have told us what we were responsible for them losing tens of thousands of dollars this past year by closing the trail. I'm not sure what's going on in their business. I know things have been very difficult since COVID, and I know their hours have changed quite a bit. I keep trail cameras on the trail myself. Not a lot of traffic midweek with ATVs, a lot of traffic midweek with snowmobiles. So I don't know how adversely the trail closing last year affected them in just that regard, but that's my statement about the towpath and setting up a new trail or to get a trail back just because somebody complained that they had loss of business. It sets up a bad precedent if somebody else, maybe in West Turin, wants to, hey, we don't have a connector that brings a trail to us. They did it for the towpath. Why not do it for us too? I just don't think that's good business. Glasses here. We've talked to several people in regard to what can be done to alleviate some of our problems, from dust control to patrol by law enforcement. And it seems that in conversations, a lot of these potential solutions are, well, so-and-so says the town can put stuff to control the dust on your road. In discussions with the town highway department, well, we don't have the money extra for that. So it's just patrol can't do this. We already have our things. We can't do enough. So it just seems a lot of back finger pointing that we can do this, but they have to do it. And when you discuss with those people, they don't seem to have the means, or no, we don't do that for you. That's something that the county should be doing for you. So there seems to be a lot of finger pointing as to, yep, we can do this for you, but we don't necessarily do it. We've already talked with Mr. Leviker and Mr. Dahlhoff about the potential of a solution to get them off Lee Gulf Trail with the acquisition of the new owner, the former Coster property that borders Seymour Road. And that would alleviate our road and actually put them in a better position, because now you have the traffic coming out onto Carpenter Road much in the same manner that the snowmobiles do. It's just a matter of whether the Denko farm would appreciate going through a field that they just spent at least 2 weeks of bulldozing, reclaiming property. I'm not sure if he'll be on board, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. We spoke about signs. The same, I hope to see them, and I hope that, I don't believe, Josh, you were on the board back in 2017. And Ms. McNichol, thank you for the offer of the signs. So I spoke of my concern back in 17 when I approached the board, and that was the solution then as well. And I'd love to see signs saying ride right, Blind Hill, but everyone knows that you can put as many signs up. It's just some people just don't obey them. The issue with us last year and throughout the whole season, I kept my trail closed sign at the intersection of Carpenter Road the whole year, and people just go right by it. The town of Turin was very generous and put up 2 private road signs right where the road ends for the town of Turin's jurisdiction. Ride right by them. So there's a group of people, I guess, that still follow the Polaris or whatever GPS that's on the 4-wheelers that tell them this is a road. So I don't know if there's a way the ATV department can contact Polaris or something to that effect, but maybe the mapping needs to change for that as well. So I had several more things, I think, but I think in the process of discussing prior to the meeting, we've discussed those things, and I will yield to the floor.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak on the ATV Trail Edition?
Dave Freeman, I think Mr. Scovira covered it quite nicely. His concerns are my concerns. They're not any different. One concern, and I don't know if it's been looked into, is the trail from the Lee Gulf Trail, proposed trail down to the Ives Road. Is the slope too steep in there to make it safe? It's awful steep. gonna take a lot of work, and if you do it, and a lot of maintenance, I think. But, and he said everything else that I wanted to, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? I'll hold that public hearing open for half an hour and we'll come back to it. Are you speaking on the?
No, I'm speaking on what I wrote down on the paper.
You're on the trail edition.
Nope.
Okay, well, we're.
You want me to wait?
You have to wait just a second. Please. I don't have. Oh, okay. Up here. Yeah, just a second. Okay, anyone else on the ATV trail? We'll leave that open.
Has this passed, or this is the formal hearing that it takes to the last process of making this trail happen, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we were looking through some information, and one of the things that my wife did before we came was last year, after the trail was closed and it was on Facebook, and the ATV, the Lewis County ATV put up a thing that the trail was closed, and there were a whole slew of comments. And she was just checking to make sure. And it was like, relatively, it wasn't taken negatively. It was just seemed to be that, yep, it was bound to happen. This is an event that does that sort of thing, the snort run. In looking at that feed from was it April, I think, the snort run.
Mhm.
4 days ago, Lewis County ATV, whoever does the social media, put a post that said, "New trail coming this summer." So I'd just like to make that a point that I think maybe you still have a hearing to go through. You still have the last hoop to go through, that maybe someone should let them know that maybe you shouldn't jump the gun and let everybody know until it's actually done. Because that was sometime last week, they made a post. And I don't see Jackie's here. Oh, there you are. Yeah, so I'm not sure. It just seems like you're jumping the gun a little bit. This trail has hoops to go through, and I know you're looking forward to it, but that was just my comment on that.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else on the ATV trail? We'll leave that open for a few minutes and we'll move to privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board and provide comments?
Good afternoon. There's quite a few of you guys up there that know me. My name is Richie Turk. I want to talk to you about your Lewis County District Attorney. The tragedy that happened to my wife on the 14th of February, she passed away. He was contacted on the 15th to provide our family with an autopsy. Her funeral was scheduled for the 22nd. Plenty enough time for this man to get this done for this family. We were contacted on the 20th and told us that the autopsy could not be done until the 22nd, the day of her funeral. She was not there for her funeral for her family and the over 500 people that came to the church to see her. We never got her back till Friday. Now I understand that you guys have lost a coroner or a pathologist. I understand that. So my thoughts for you is to think hard of how you can get somebody here to take care of what you call your family, which is Lewis County. This should not have happened. I don't know in the 50 years, 58 years that I've been alive that I've ever heard of a district attorney in Lewis County not getting an autopsy done for a family in time. So in the near future, I hope that you guys take the time to sit down and discuss that between yourselves to provide for your families of Lewis County the privilege of not having to spend the money to have an autopsy done in Binghamton, which is over $3,000. Thank God, right now, that bill has not come to me. So I just hope that you guys keep me in your prayers. Vinny, I've known you a long time. Brad, on you. Tom, I worked with you for 12 years. Mr. Delhoff, I've shopped in your store half my life. So the last thing that I want to say to each and every one of you is the fact that if in the investigation of your district attorney, we find out that he's derelict of his duty, we will be contacting the New York State Attorney General and the governor of the state of New York for his removal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else like privilege of the floor? To the February 6th board meeting minutes. If there are no amendments, they stand approved. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6. Cassandra, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee has met, and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need a motion? Herb, second by Vince. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Clerk of the Board reports, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Board of Legislators received correspondence from Mr. Dave Harris expressing his appreciation for the Lobble skating rink and the hope that the county would assist with the purchase of new chilling equipment to keep the rink open for a longer season, as everyone there seemed to thoroughly enjoy themselves. They received 2 adopted resolutions from the County of Cattaraugus titled Urging New York State Legislators to Advocate on Behalf of SUNY Community Colleges to Increase Funding to Community Colleges in the State Budget, and Demanding New York State Parole Board revoke the release of Edward Kint from prison. There was 1 resolution received from the County of Columbia titled A Resolution Urging Action by New York State Legislators to Advocate on Behalf of Columbia Green Community College to Increase Funding. There were 2 resolutions received from the County of Essex titled Resolution Urging Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York State Legislature to support the Empire State Community College Workforce Development Program Guarantee and the additional $97 million in operating funds for SUNY's 30 community colleges, and resolution opposing Assembly Bill A 6989 and Senate Bill S 6786 entitled An Act to Amend the Alcoholic Beverage Control Law in relation to establishing supermarket wine licenses. There has been 1 RP 554 application for corrected tax roll submitted for tax map number 391.00-0128.200 that has been approved by Real Property Director Candy Aiken and Treasurer Eric Verkler. The following departments have submitted their 2023 annual reports. That is Information Technology, Lewis County Historical Society, and Cornell Cooperative Extension. That concludes my report.
Any questions? Thank you, Cassandra. We'll move to standing committee reports. Legislator Osborne, would you start us off with finance and rules, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Information and Technology Department has about 80% of the county employees transitioned over to the new Ring Central phone system. The final group will be the Department of Social Services and will likely take place after the heap season passes. IT continues to balance day-to-day tech support with bigger projects and information security. New technology adoption and security maturity will be major themes throughout 2024 as they continue to modernize our infrastructure and enable new, better, and more efficient ways of doing business. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Thank you, Tom. And we'll move to General Services Committee with Legislator Moorhan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Building and Grounds has finally been able to fill vacancies due to staff transfers and retirement. Joe Cowles, the working supervisor, retired on February 16th after 15 years with the county. The department took delivery of some new equipment, such as a floor machine and a compact loader or tractor with a loader and snow blower. The old tractor will be auctioned off online soon. There will be an RFP sent out for overhead door replacement at the PSB, emergency management, and the courthouse, so the projects can be completed this summer. I also have a motion. I move to award bids for sand, gravel, crushed stone, and concrete based on project location in accordance with a tabulation of all bids prepared by the highway superintendent and placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025.
Moved by Andrea. Do I have a second? Josh, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Andrea? Thank you, Andrea. And we'll move on to, I'm not sure, is somebody filling in for you are, Tom? We'll move to Health and Human Services Committee with Legislator Kalmus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report, Office of the Aging served 4,184 meals in January through the nutrition program for seniors. They had 38 clients who received health insurance counseling. One client received legal counseling. 2 clients received evidence-based classes. There were 17 clients who received HEAP assistance. The new senior meal program, restaurant-style dining at the Milk Plant Tavern in West Leyden seems to be working very well. And I have one motion to move. I move to authorize state travel for Lewis County Public Health employees, Marcia Ashline and Anna Birchnoff, to attend the Immunization Coalition National Conference in Philadelphia, PA on April 8th through April 11th, 2024.
Moved by Tom. Do I have a second? Barry, any discussion? All in favor?
That concludes my report.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Any questions for Tom? Seems how he would probably try to do his best, seems how he found out 15 seconds ago, but.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to Legislator Nortz, who is the board's representative on the Hospital Board of Managers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start off with saying the Employee of the Month was Tina Bates. Last month, the hospital had a loss of $403,000 versus a projected loss of $441,000. The new OR in January had over 163 patients. They're into a positive cash flow balance right now, which is always nice. Maternity has now 69 scheduled births sometime between now and due dates. There is a large need for travel nurses in the maternity room wing. In conjunction with BOCES, they are going to be launching another new LPN class. Right now, they have 20 possible candidates, which is something that is definitely needed up to the hospital. There's a great shortage of it. And on Thursday, February 29th, the town of Diana had a discussion with the hospital, the health system, and the town is going to lease the building to the health system for $1 for 10 years. This will allow, once the building is up for code, this will allow the health center to reopen in Harrisville and serve that end of the county. So now you'll have health centers on both ends of the county and in the middle. That's the end of my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Vince? Thank you. We'll move to project manager's report with Jim and Nick Garrido.
I'd like to thank the board and Ryan again for the opportunity to report. Things are going real well. The atmosphere in the job continues to be positive. It's always nice to see the contractors getting along, especially at this stage of a project. When you go to the site, it's not uncommon to see the general contractor, the electrician, general contractor, subcontractors, and the plumber actually taking break together. That's a rare thing that, typically at this stage, contractors are fighting each other and pushing each other around. But, we're fortunate that they're getting along. And for the most part, they're local Lewis County people that are enjoying working for the county. And Nick can give you an update on what's going on with the project.
Project wise, down at the only building left down there is outdoor services. A lot of floors have went down, ceilings have went in. We were waiting on placement of a couple more HVAC units this month. Final paint, casework, pretty much getting right down to the tail end of it here. A lot of startup and balancing and a lot of mechanical behind the scenes stuff is going to be going on. And then if the weather continues to cooperate, site work will start hopefully sooner rather than later. And we're getting right down to the end of it down there. Thank you.
Any questions?
Nick, could you remind the legislators here what we have left to do with project closeout? So, we're going to be moving into the last building, right? But then we've got other things that we need to make sure are in place.
Yeah, closeouts, warranty information, information that Matt O'Connor's going to need to have in the future. Record drawings, you get those so that, in 5 years from now, you'll know where everything is. Chasing people down for all the paperwork is going to be going on as well. Thank you.
Guys? County manager report. Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, there was a few of us that had the opportunity to spend a couple days in Albany for the annual New York State Association of Counties Legislative Conference. As always, very informative. I'm going to give you a rundown on a couple things that we learned. So I sat in on a great session on the upcoming New York State budget that is due at the end of April. Excuse me, the beginning of April is when it's due. This year, the governor has proposed a $240 billion state budget. As of right now, this year's budget is in balance as proposed by the governor. The state has about $20 billion in reserves. So if it were us and we were talking about our general fund, 20 billion out of 240 billion out of 240 billion would not really be sufficient. It's about 10%, right? But for the state, that's as good as their reserves have been in quite some time. So they're feeling like they're in decent shape. The out-year deficit, the 4-year deficit projection is $20.5 billion. So 4 years from now, the state projects to be out of balance by $20.5 billion. Medicaid and school aid continue to drive the large majority of cost. Medicaid alone next year will be a $102 billion program, with the federal government picking up 60% and the state and counties picking up the rest. Counties are expected to chip in $7.6 billion to Medicaid alone next year. Okay. So we're one of the only states in the country that has counties and local governments contribute through property taxes to Medicaid. And we will be contributing $7.6 billion from county governments. All told, counties will contribute $14 billion to the state programs next year. So when we go through our budget in September and we show that slide of the mandates, that's, that all adds up. Our mandates here across the state, they add up to $14 billion. The state does have a self-imposed Medicaid cap, so they're trying to curb Medicaid growth. But they are $1.5 billion over their own state-imposed cap. So there's some cuts that are projected. My guess is they'll find ways to stay within the cap without really cutting Medicaid. I mean, that's kind of how they are able to do it. A few other items that we need to watch out for in Albany. The first and really very critical is in rem tax foreclosure. So the Supreme Court, a couple years ago, basically ended foreclosure as we know it. And the Supreme Court doesn't re-legislate. They just take laws off the table. The state has still not put forward new legislation governing tax foreclosures. So it's a good thing that we made the decision, Treasurer Berkler earlier this year, to not hold an auction this year, a foreclosure auction, because there's going to be all kinds of legal implications over the next several years. In fact, Joan can speak more to that, but by all accounts, it's going to be quite a legal mess for a few years until new case law can be established, right? So you've got to have new legislation governing the rules, and then you've got to have new case law establishing precedents and whatnot. So we are keeping an eye on that. The governor has proposed language through her budget for fixing in rem tax foreclosure. The Senate, however, has different ideas in their version of the budget, and the Assembly has different ideas in their version of the budget. So as always, we will be watching to see what version wins out, because that has very big implications on county governments, obviously. Another issue that we're going to be watching closely is the governor's budget includes a provision to collect sales tax from short-term rentals. So that would be Airbnbs, VRBOs, those types of things. They believe that that's a $16 million gain to counties. A lot of the counties that I talked to at NISAC believe that's pretty light, that there's a lot more activity going on in short-term rentals, and that there's probably more money out there than $16 million. So, regardless of how you feel about expanding taxes, it won't be our decision, but we could potentially get revenue from that. So something to watch. Another important thing that NISAC is working on our behalf is their Save EMS package. I'm going to get you guys more information on that, but we did our EMS ad hoc committee last year. We've done some more work this year, and we want to keep it going. But a lot of the same initiatives and ideas that we came up with, NISAC has mirrored in their legislative package that they're pushing out to the state Assembly and Senate. So we're hoping that some of those things can be adopted and help some rural EMS providers. So we'll get you that whole package put in your mailbox, or get it out by email here later this week. Last New York State update. I thought this was an interesting stat that I jotted down at the top of my program. There has been already 24,000 bills proposed in Albany. 24,000 bills by the Senate and the Assembly. We expect that about 800 will pass. So when we're talking about some of our priorities and the things that we're trying to get across the finish line, it's easy to see how things can get lost in the shuffle of 24,000 pieces of legislation. Last report from me. Friday, May 22nd, Lewis County is hosting the Leadership Academy Local Government Day. We had an awesome event last year where all the Leadership Academy participants came here and spent the day with us, and we did department speed dating. So we had each of the departments set up around the room. The different leadership participants can go around and learn what each of our departments do. Then we had an excellent discussion with legislators. So we had the legislators here and the Leadership Academy participants, and we had really good discussion. So whoever can make it for that, you're more than welcome. We'll have it right here on Friday, May 22nd. Timing and details, we'll be working on that with Cassandra. So that's it for my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan. And we'll move to Mr. Verkler, the county treasurer, for his report.
Yes, thank you. I'd just first follow up on Ryan's comments on the in-rem foreclosure. Thanks for the credit on a decision on not having a auction this year, but I certainly want to credit County Attorney Joan and Real Property Director Candy and my Deputy Treasurer Taz, and they're really the knowledge source, and it was a good group decision. I don't think there's a huge impact to us for 1 year not to have an auction. I think we had about 13 properties last year. Typically, we're less than 30 properties, so holding off is not a significant impact, and definitely makes sense until we understand where things will go with this process. You have my written report. Just a couple things I would highlight. The last two notes, it's audit season. So we did have a preliminary exit interview with our Office of State Controller auditors a couple of weeks ago, and really had a good discussion with them and conversations that they've already informed us about. So no surprises from them. Their formal report will probably be another month or two, and we'll get an opportunity to see that. And I think we'll be able to address their findings in a relatively simple manner, I hope. And then our annual audit with our outside audit firm, they are in-house on April 1st. So we're working towards that and look forward to that process.
Any questions for Eric? Back to the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to make any comments on the ATV trail opening? Seeing no hands, at this point, we'll close that public hearing and move to the report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 7, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $3,902,239.79 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Need a motion, please, to move that. Vince, second. Tom, any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries. And we will move to resolutions. With the consent resolutions, we are going to pull resolution number 43, 49, number 62, and number 63. Are there any other resolutions that anyone would like to pull for individual vote?
I'd like to pull 44 and 47.
4 and 47. Okay, anyone have any others? I have a motion to pass the remaining as a consent resolution. Consent package. Anyone like to move that? Jeff, second by Andrea. Discussion. All in favor of the consent resolutions? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And we're back to 43.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is auditing and allowing claims in the amount of $3,902,239.79.
Moved by Josh, do I have a second? Barry, any discussion? This is roll call.
Legislator Frost.
Yes.
Legislator Mosher is excused. Legislator Nortz.
Yes.
Legislator Leviker.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne.
Yes.
Legislator Calamus.
Yes.
Legislator Lindecker.
Yes.
Legislator Moorhan.
Yes.
Legislator Nellenbach.
Yes.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes. 44.
This resolution is authorizing agreement with Credo to temporarily occupy space in the county's building located at 7714 Number 3 Road, Lowell, New York, and appropriating funds for 2024 operational expenses.
Someone would like to move that? Tom, do I have a second? Do I have a second? Herb? And we'll move to discussion.
You all should have received an email from Candace Randall about this. I think there's more to this than we're being told. Mountain View is saying that they did not just walk off, that they were locked out of the building. And that they were told that they could not charge rent to Credo. So how can the county charge rent?
So, two things. I think Mountain View and county staff have a very different view about how things went down towards the end of Mountain View's tenure. And secondly, this is not rent, it's splitting the operational expenses for the building. So we are allowed via OASIS, the State Office of Substance Abuse, to split operational expenses for the building. So Mountain View is charging them double this, actually. So we've cut it down to just half of operational expenses.
I think we should take the time to read the email and see.
I haven't seen an email.
I received it on mine. I mean,
Okay, I didn't look just before the meeting. All right.
Well, I don't know what the email says, but I can give a little more context to our side of the story. Mountain View, towards the end of their tenure, was very unorganized. They had an executive director who had left. They had 0 staff, and they had a board of directors who was doing their very best to wrap up shop appropriately. They had sensitive documents there that were not properly cared for or maintained, and they had no staff left to go over that. I had what I thought was very positive conversations with Candace Randall about the county stepping in. Pat and her team know how to sort through those documents, know what needed to be saved and what didn't. And we were, I thought, as goodwill, going to go in and pretty much help them with that. I know there are a couple members of the Mountain View board who feel differently, but those differences have been part of the problem with the operation of that organization for quite some time. So that's, Pat could probably provide more context, but we might need executive session. I'm not sure what we're allowed to share, but that would be our, my perspective. But again, I haven't seen the email.
are there any board members here from that, from Eric, right?
Yes, and I don't mind speaking to that. I'm a I guess I still am a Mountain View board member, have been for 8 years or more. Mountain View's last employee, to confirm something Ryan said, I think worked until December 8th. So no staff. The board is a volunteer organization that again, was disorganized, but that those volunteers are not going to take care of a building. So there was no one there to clean the building. There was no one there to keep an eye on the heating system. There was no one there to let visitors in if that needed to happen. I think most board members, I believe Candace Randall, I don't know what the email said, but I believe most board members, and Candace included, would say that the county helped the Mountain View out by taking control of the building. It needed to happen. So that's a really quick perspective from myself as a board member. I'm not sure what the question or concern is with this resolution, but it makes sense for Mountain View could not continue to maintain the building.
So my understanding is that Mountain View made a formal board motion to dissolve, correct? And then they exited the building.
Yes, I mean, again, Mountain View, I think from the board's perspective, December 31st was their last day of operations and activity, and staff was no longer on payroll prior to that. And yes, there was a formal resolution to dissolve and discontinue operations.
So this resolution deals with someone maintaining the building in their absence. Is that correct? Which doesn't appear that we have any choice to assume it, or else the building freezes and falls into further disarray or.
And Mr. Chairman, Credo was still in the building occupying the same space they were in before. So it really is the county's obligation to step up and to maintain the building. We have a cleaning service. They're entitled to that cleaning service. They have, clients and patients who come in. So this resolution is really just to preserve the property and continue its functioning, which we have an obligation to do. And I know that Pat Freilich, as the Community Services Director, also wants to see these services continue to be offered by Credo in that building right now.
A good question would be, is there any harm in holding it a month if there's some questions? We're just talking about appropriating funds, right? Matt, we already pretty much have the building under control. We're taking care of it. Pat?
To the taking and locking the building. This was prompted after many attempts to negotiate a transition of services and a transition of the building due to the fact that Mountain View had chosen to dissolve. As soon as they chose to dissolve the organization, they did not meet criteria to continue the funding that they received to establish the building. So that kind of put things in play. In 2024, the ground that the county had ponied up 20 years ago, and all the responsibilities and requirements that went with that ended. So at the time of their stepping off, it became our legitimate responsibility to take advantage or take possession of the building itself. Another condition of the funding until 2029 is that the building has to be available to service providers that provide substance abuse counseling. And we are in transition of doing that. What prompted this decision to change the locks is Niagara Mohawk was on site to shut the power off. We had made several attempts to have us to be aware as to what kind of contracts or services that were sustaining the building were going on. None of that was forthcoming. It was my responsibility to ensure that anyone that's being served in that building, that they're safe. On a Friday afternoon, NYMO's there to shut the power off. I can't be responsible for either staff that are doing their job, providing services, they have to worry about whether or not there's power or heat in the building. So I went to the county manager, everyone. I said, we've got to make a decision on this. Luckily, Matt was able to intervene and so that the power didn't get shut off. And we notified the board that this has occurred. However, in that because it happened on a weekend, one of the board members showed up, the doors were, she couldn't get in. And then obviously people were definitely upset. Since that time, anytime the Mountain View board wanted access to that building, they made the arrangements and they were given immediate access. The other thing that complicated thing, as Eric said, that this is a volunteer board, there's a lot to be done when you make those decisions. We kind of worked with them as we intended and should. And obviously it allowed them access to the building until December or January 31st. So again, as Ryan said, there was documents in that building that were not secured. I did not have a way to understand who had access to the building. I was understanding that many people had keys. The federal confidentiality laws require, and ultimately it is my responsibility to ensure that those documents are safe and secure. That's a very high risk for the department and the county. So definitely in hindsight, I might have made some different decisions, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to have somebody up there worrying about whether or not they can take care of a client because there's no power or there's no heat, let alone the impact on the building itself. Anybody else have any questions?
It just seems odd to me that we got an email based on a conversation we had at a committee meeting in the middle of February. And I mean, it was in negative light an hour before our board meeting. So it just seems to me it's an angry perspective to take on their end. And I mean, it's just to appropriate funds to continue to take care of the building because it is our responsibility. And I mean, it was in our expenditure report. We just paid for plowing, from all winter. So, I mean, it just makes sense to me to move through this, but.
And the other thing I want to make a point of is the fact that this isn't something that I just woke up and thought to do that day. There's responsibility and obligations that the department has in regards to accepting state aid. And that was a big component of how we got here. All the step of the way, I've been in contact not only with the senior team in the county, but obviously the New York State Office of Substance Abuse along the way to ensure that we are being true to the documents that are in place, that we follow this every step of the way. And again, being able to be respectful and mindful of an organization that's been around for 20 years and is going through some tough times. However, at the end of the day, I'm also responsible to ensure that these services are available to our community. And that's been on hold for a little while this all plays out.
Any questions for Pat? Any further discussion?
I think we should just hold up and everybody read the email and see how you feel then, because it sounds like two different stories.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion to table this?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to table it.
Do I have a second on tabling this? No second, the motion fails. So now we'll move to the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So Legislator Weindecker opposing, and the resolution carries.
Resolution number 47 is a resolution authorizing agreement between Lewis County District Attorney and Nicholas D. Martino, Esquire.
Moved by Vinnie, second by Andrea. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yes, I am.
Show legislator Weindecker opposed, and the motion carries, or resolution carries.
Resolution number 49 is a resolution establishing employee standard workday. And I would just like to make a point in that the Office for Aging Director is incorrectly listed under 7.5-hour standard workday and should be listed under 8-hour standard workday. So we will make that minor change.
Would someone move that, please? Herb, do I have a second? Tom? Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 62, and with the chairman's permission, I'd like to read this out loud.
Please do.
Resolution in memoriam of Sam F. Valenti, introduced by legislator Lawrence L. Dahlhoff, chairman of the Lewis County Board of Legislators. Whereas Sam F. Valenti of Branningham, New York, recently departed this life on February 10th, 2024. And whereas Sam F. Valenti was chosen by the electorate to serve on the Lewis County Board of Legislators effective January 1st, 1970 through September 30th, 1994, as the District Number 5 representative. And whereas during his tenure, he served as chairman of the Board of Legislators from 1975 through 1978 and organized Lewis County's celebration of the United States bicentennial in 1976. Sam was committed to Lewis County and did so by serving his community as a Laval Village Board trustee, Lewis County Chamber of Commerce Board member, Lewis County Opportunities Board member, Lewis County Republican chairman, New York State Republican Committee member, and New York State Parks Commission representative. And whereas it is proper for us as friends, acquaintances, and members of this Board of Legislators to record our recognition and appreciation for the sincere, generous, and valuable services rendered by our former colleague, Sam F. Valenti. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows, that as an enduring record and mark of respect to the memory of Sam F. Valenti, a true friend and honorable and able political official, this resolution shall be printed in the official record of the proceedings of the Board of Legislators of the County of Lewis, with a copy thereof forwarded to the family of Sam F. Valenti.
Moved by Andrea, second by Tom. Any discussion? All in favor? And it is adopted unanimously.
The last one is resolution number 63, authorizing opening of certain portions of county roads for ATV special event.
Moved by Josh. Do I have a second? Herb? Discussion. I would say that we have heard from Mr. Scovira and Mr. Freeman. We understand your concerns, and we will do our best to mitigate those going forward. Anyone else have any comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Just correct the introduction incorrectly lists legislator Ian Gilbert on there. It should reflect legislator Andrea Morahan, and I apologize for that error.
Okay, Barry.
I've looked over the insurance policies from last year. They do not protect the county from liability if there's an accident. I'm wondering how we're addressing that.
We have an agreement that Snowpals actually executes where they provide an indemnity for any damage or any lawsuits that the county gets sued with, in addition to whatever their insurance will cover.
how can they actually do that? I mean, if you're opening up these roads, they can sue you if they have an accident on them.
We are not the sponsors of the event.
Last year, we got sued by a snowmobile accident. The owner was killed.
We did not.
I thought there was.
We did not.
Well, then somebody reported it in the paper wrong. But this event is getting out of hand. I mean, have any of you been up there during it? I'm sure Josh has, but I mean, you might want to take a ride up there.
I've been to every one for several years now. And yes, it's very busy.
I mean, you asked me to play by the rules, register my camp for the 5%. I did that. Now the county's not going to carry insurance for something like this because nobody's going to insure you.
I understand we have insurance.
The policy has been provided to our insurer as well, and our insurance carrier is aware of the agreement that we've entered into with SNRP.
They did. I have them here from last year. It doesn't cover you.
That's not our insurance, that's their insurance.
I'd like to see the policy.
Any other discussion? All in favor? And opposed? Show legislator Leviker opposed and the resolution carries.
You mean legislator Lindecker, right?
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Been a long night. Legislator Lindecker, I'm sorry. Okay. Do we have any other business? To adjourn. Jeff, second by Tom. All in favor? We are adjourned.